how you follow that. Other than to say, I know everyone associated with Paint a Miracle has their own Paint a Miracle story about how they found it, how they came to be part of it, and what it has meant in their life. And it happens that with me, my Paint a Miracle story is in part the story of Paint a Miracle itself, story of my dad, Dale Propson, and so I'm going to share that story with you, one more time. I'm going to talk about my family a bit and my dad, but I think you can take a lot of it as the story of every Paint a Miracle artist and family, and kind of how it came to be. Because as we alluded to, in a lot of ways, the story of Paint a Miracle started on this date, May 9, 40 years ago, which was 1985. That was the evening that my father was struck by a drunk driver, put him in a coma for weeks, and ended his career. And I think, that we all have dates like that on the calendar. May 9, every year it comes around and it's had a big black mark on it. And it's striking when we set up this luncheon and notice the date it fell. But it's kind of a good time, to look back over those 40 years. And to do that, I talk a little bit about Dale, my dad. Before his accident, he was a dynamo. He was always looking for ways to help. And one of the things I was struck by is that he seemed to think about solutions in terms of institutions. He wouldn't just say, we need to help those kids. He would say, I want to start a dental clinic at Children's Hospital. We need to think about starting a school. My mind doesn't work that way, but he had these he had a vision for these things. After the accident, one of the things that he had to deal with, besides recovery, was finding himself on the other side of that arrangement, finding him suddenly the person who needed help. And he needed help with a lot of things. I remember at age 10 or 11, sitting with him. We had a computer with a very, very early speech-to-text program. So if you can imagine Siri or Alexa and how they misbehave, this was much, much worse. And we would work through names and places he needed to relearn all of these things he had learned to walk again, to speak again. He needed to learn to remember all of these things. And so we just would go over and over through various things. There are the lakes around where he grew up in Wisconsin. Monona, Mendota, Wabisa, Kegonsa. I have these dedicated to my memory because I heard them a million times. And we'd go through the streets, the roads in the area. Rochester, John R., DeQuinder, Shelby, Van Dyke, Shaner, Romeo Plank. And I remember as a kid trying to figure out who was Romeo Plank. Who could he have been? What did he do? But it was also an experience that I had where I very early reflected on how what comes easily to some people does not come so easily to others. And I would add, as I'm older, sometimes when you get older, it doesn't come so easily either. My father had always been good with his hands. He was a good draftsman. He had worked with stained glass and in other materials. And so in a way, it was not surprising to learn that he had taken up painting with a teacher named Helen Kniff. But again, you could tell that it's not easy to paint. It's not easy to learn to paint. It was not easy to get up in the morning to go to the studio or to look at a blank canvas. And it's not easy to find that maybe your hand doesn't do what your brain is telling it to. So this is one of my dad's earliest paintings. It was the very earliest, but it's significant to me because one Christmas in the early 1990s, after he'd been painting for a little while, Dale gave 4 of these paintings to my mother. There's the 4 seasons. And these hung on the walls in their house for many years, and they may, I think, have become almost overly familiar. But as I look at it again, it seems to me that those paintings that were given as a gift at that Christmas was another sort of starting point for Paint a Miracle. Because that was a very important moment for my dad. After years of struggle, after depending on other people, after working hard to recover, he was giving something back. He had something to give back. And one of the things I've learned from Paint a Miracle, from my dad, that I hope you can take away from this morning, is that kind of lesson that everyone has something to give. I think that's really one of the core things about Paint a Miracle. The work that the artists do at Paint a Miracle is not just creating meaning for themselves, but making something meaningful for other people. Buying a piece of art here is not a purchase, it's an exchange. You give a donation, the artist gives you a painting. And I guess I would say, what do you get with your painting? Because you're gonna take it home, you're gonna put it on your wall. I've got many paintings on my wall. And then you go back to living your life. But I wanted to suggest that that painting and that experience that the artist put into it is waiting there for you. And you can go back to it. That's what I've done with my paintings that I've collected over the years, that I have on the wall in our living room. And they sort of, you know, my kids grew up, the paintings are on the walls, you know, and I remember in, guess it was the 1990s, my mother, or my dad at one point, because this is how his mind works, right? He said, I think we should start an art studio, right? Which is a big idea. And he says, oh, okay, well, then they start working, how are we gonna do that? And I remember talking about that, it's Paint a Miracle just being an idea. Remember, I was off at college, my parents came to visit, you know, I remember sitting with my girlfriend, Sharon, at a diner in Chicago, sketching out logos for Paint a Miracle with them, coming up with ideas, what would this look like? But for the most part, I spent 30 years or so in the position of most of you being a donor, a cheerleader, a collector. I remember coming, we were talking about this earlier with some people, I guess the first classes were held at the community house in downtown Rochester. But I remember going to this little building, it's about the size of a garage, I thought it was a garage, behind the old Victorian in Rochester, the one that's now the Cheese Lady. And that was just, you know, this very small space. It's since then, Paint a Miracle has added many programs, added some space, it's a little bit bigger. This luncheon and other events have helped make it an institution. And we've been blessed to work with many artists. I was talking to my mom about this recently, and one of the things she told me that was when they started Pain and Miracle, they wanted to create a safe place. I took that to mean not just a safe place where people could be themselves, although I think that's true, but a safe place where you could try and you could fail, and a safe place where you could struggle, because in a lot of ways, that's what art is about. It's about struggle. You can look at these pieces of art, you can look at these flowering trees, and you can see the struggle in it, or I can. You know, it's a major achievement. So to go back to the paintings that you put on the wall, the paintings that I put on my wall. Some of you may know that a few weeks after Dale died, my wife Sharon also passed away from cancer. And that was a great blow for all of our family. But throughout Sharon's illness, we had the example of my dad in front of us, of Pain and Miracles artists and their families. We had their art on our walls. And it was it's an example of what it means to not give up, to run the race, to work hard, to create, and to give. The theme of this luncheon is images of inspiration. And one of the things that I've learned is it's not just that the art is inspired. It's that even as you were doing something for our artists, for Pain and Miracle, by buying a piece of this artwork, they are doing something for you. It's you knowing that all of these wonderful artists are looking themselves in the eye each morning and asking, what can I do today? What do I have to give to people today? And if you pick up a picture or three today and hang them on your wall, you can take a look at it on a day that you're feeling down or on the worst day of your life and say, today is going to be a struggle, but how much can I do today? What do I have to give? Today, the 9th of May, is not the worst day of your life. It's a great day to be alive, to be here, to be a part of Pain and Miracle, or to become a part of Pain and Miracle. Because Pain and Miracle, like any institution, is a story that's always beginning and re-beginning. Every time a new artist walks through the door, every time a new volunteer puts their hand up, every time a collector takes a work of art home and puts it on their wall. So, with that, we have a little short recording that I recently rediscovered that is my dad. And this was made a few years after his accident and several years, I think, before Pain and Miracle got started. But I think if you listen to the way he's talking, you can hear how Pain and Miracle started even before the first classes began.
Hi, I'm Dale Propson, and I am a head injury. It's a different specialty from what there used to be, but it's surprising how many people are surviving now and having problems that didn't exist before because they didn't live. And it is very good and interesting to be able to help them to continue to survive and maybe someday to be blessings to all of us. It's not easy to do, but it is possible to do. I didn't enjoy dealing with myself 4.5 years ago. We're working on everybody now. It's helping that. And it is very enticing. I don't know really what I'm saying by enticing. It's just so very interesting to learn what I'm doing myself with these patients, these people. I enjoy dealing with some of them. Some of them I don't. Some of them I do. And that feels so good to have conquered my own injury. And I dig dealing with this and having gone as far as I have. And boy, do I hope I can go farther. I don't know how far, but I want to get there. Thank God.